I came in and it was just like waiting. I've been very patient throughout my career, very persistent. It took me 14 years to get that first contract when I started here in Impact Wrestling. And yeah, it's just like opportunities don't come along all the time. So it's just waiting and ready. When I was handed an opportunity, it was like, give me the ball and I won't drop it. And I think I've done that through my first 3 years. That's why I'm a Triple Crown champion now.
Slammiversary takes place on June 19th in pay-per-view. This is the 20th anniversary, and it's been pretty much been 20 years since TNA Impact started. So other than it being the 20th anniversary, how will this show stand out from some of the previous Slammiversaries?
Well, the standing out thing, I think Slammiversary 2 years ago was really the kicking off point of like anything can happen at Slammiversary, right? That's the night the Good Brothers showed up. It was Eric Young's kind of return back to Impact Wrestling. All these other things occurred, and I think you're going to get more of the same this year. I don't even know all the names that are going to show up, but there's going to be a blast from the past for any Impact TNA fan. I'm sure you're going to see a lot of nostalgia. A lot of these people, whether they be video shout outs or they're live in the ring. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. And other than that, I think you're going to get more of the same of what Impact Wrestling is doing for the past year or two, which is like every pay-per-view has been blowing things out of the water, man. From the very first match all the way to the main event, this whole roster has a chip on our shoulder. The knockouts, the men, all of us, we just want to steal the show every single time. We want to give people their money's worth. We're ready to, put Impact Wrestling on the map and make this place grow. And we're just busting our ass trying to make that happen.
And speaking of nostalgia, the show is going to be back in Nashville. It's pretty much where TNA/Impact started. How important was to have Slammiversary back in Nashville, specifically at the Nashville Fairgrounds?
I think it's all perfect, and it all happened. Yeah. The fact that June 19th falls on a weekend where we can have a pay-per-view live, on the very same day, 20 years later, on that same hollow ground as the Asylum years, where Impact Wrestling, the little engine that could, showed up and like made a name for itself with the people like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and Amazing Red and Loki and all these people. Like that's where that history began and grew. And to come back there now, it's just coming full circle.
You're absolutely right about that. And for you, you're main eventing the show. You're taking on Eric Young. You are the Impact World Champion. You're defending your title. Was when you first joined Impact, was that one of your goals, is to become Impact Champion and main event a Slammiversary?
I can't say it was. No, I never dreamt this possible, man. I came in and it was just like waiting. I've been very patient throughout my career, very persistent. It took me 14 years to get that first contract when I started here in Impact Wrestling. And yeah, it's just like opportunities don't come along all the time. So it's just waiting and ready. When I was handed an opportunity, it was like, give me the ball and I won't drop it. And I think I've done that through my first 3 years. That's why I'm a Triple Crown champion now. And to say I'm world champion, I got to stop and pinch myself every once in a while. And to be able to main event what is like the 20-year anniversary with me starting my Impact Wrestling relationship with this company as a fan, like everybody else, as a 15-year-old kid ordering that pay-per-view on a Wednesday night. I watched that very first show and it changed my idea of what pro wrestling was, because I saw the X Division. It took the cruiserweights that I'd seen prior to that, and it took everything just a step further. And I was like, oh, this is the kind of wrestling I'm creating. This is the kind of wrestling I want. I want to be a part of this. And that's what started my passion for this, to want to even try to be a pro wrestler, to be the champion main eventing a show 20 years later on the same ground, man. It's, yeah, I got to stop and pinch myself. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. And for you, this year has been really strong for you. You've won the Impact World Championship twice. And you mentioned you signed a new contract. And you spent a lot of time in the independent circuit, just grinding and working to get to where you are now. But have you ever, when you're talking about this past year, have you ever had a year like you've had in your pro wrestling career?
I know, it's been constant growth.
Yeah.
Thankfully, like the momentum just keeps growing, and you know, it's just always trying to challenge myself with new things. It's trying to put myself out there and get new and bigger opportunities. And like, thankfully, like that's why I re-signed here, man. Since I started here in Impact Wrestling, it's been opportunity after opportunity and challenge after challenge, and that's what I want. I need to be challenged to feel like I'm growing. If I'm not moving straightforward in a direction. If I'm just standing still, then I don't want to be complacent, right? So this is the place where I'm going to be challenged to do new things and be put in positions where the pressure's on me, and it's just to see if I can rise to the occasion. That's where I get the juice out of this stuff.
And speaking of being challenged, you're taking on Eric Young, that I just mentioned. Eric Young, well established in Impact, also spent time in WWE. How excited are you to face Eric Young at Slammiversary?
I'm very excited. I started in Ontario, Canada as a professional wrestler in the independent circuit. And in 2005, when I started, all you heard about was the legend of Showtime Eric Young and how he was the greatest wrestler to come out of Ontario, Canada. And I, of course, followed his career through TNA and Impact Wrestling over the years. This man has done everything there is to do in this company. And if you look at the entire roster for us to celebrate the 20-year anniversary, I don't think there's a better representation of the first 20 years on our roster right now. You know, maybe Chris Sabin, but then Eric Young. And, you know, it's just the perfect matchup because we have the guy who represents those first 20 years and then the guy who's representing the present. We're going to see who's going to carry this brand and this championship into the future after Slammiversary.
Absolutely right about that. And other than your match against Eric Young, when it comes to Slammiversary, there's going to be more matches announced over the next week or two. What other matches are you looking forward to taking part or watching, or just being a fan? What other matches are you looking forward to seeing?
I'm very curious with the Honor No More versus the Impact Originals match to see which names are announced for those, because I honestly don't know. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, I started as a fan. So, you know, I'm trying to figure it out like everybody else. But I'm excited for those surprises. I'm always excited for Ultimate X matches, especially when I'm not in them.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to do it. I wanted to check that bucket list thing. I did it last year at Slammiversary. And if I'm never in another one, that'll be okay because it's a very grueling match to be in. But I'm excited for all those guys that are in there because I think they're going to want to steal the show. Everybody on this roster wants to steal the show, man. And you also have the history-making first ever Queen of the Mountain match. Right. Everybody in it's a former champion. I think Tasha Steelz is she's one of my favorites to watch in all of Impact, well, all of wrestling in general. And, you know, like I said, I have a chip on my shoulder. I think this whole roster does. Everyone's going to be out there stealing the show. So.
Absolutely. It should be a lot of fun. And just a couple more questions before I let you go. Obviously, I mentioned that you had a great year at Impact, but when you look forward to the future, what's some of the goals that you have moving forward?
Well, you know, I've won the Triple Crown Championship. I'm a two-time champion, as you say. I'm the current champion. When you think about things that you have to do to progress, like I said, if I'm not moving forward, I don't feel like I'm doing anything at all. For me, it's about going down in the history books now as one of those representations of Impact Wrestling, as one of the faces of this company that will go down in history, like the AJ Styles, like the Kurt Angles, like the Samoa Joes, like all those people I looked up to for so long. If I can put myself in the history books beside them with this world title run, if it continues past Slammiversary, you know, that's all I can hope for. That's my goal.
And the last question for me before I let you go is: this is 20 years since Impact launched. And I remember when it launched, it was just right after WCW shut down. You were looking for new competition with WWE, and it has continued to grow each and every year. So where do you see Impact Wrestling going in the next 20 years?
Hopefully it's just continued growth, man. Like I said, I don't want to be complacent. I want to be moving forward. I want bigger and better challenges, bigger and better matches. I want more eyes on this company and myself and the rest of the roster. I think all of us have that singular goal in this company, and that's what sets us apart. So since, you know, the elephant in the room is to not ignore the fact that there were some dark ages in Impact Wrestling's history. It grew and then it came down a little bit, but I think it's been constant growth over the last 4 or 5 years. You know, we've been putting out consistent shows. Our roster is, you know, one of the best rosters that can deliver all the time. There's always constant surprises and just like constant growth, man.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that growth. Josh, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Good luck to your Slammiversary and continued success to you.